Let's discuss the another type of virtualization, that is KVM. So this one is kernel-based virtual machine. So what's the difference between what we learned before in the kernel KVM machine? So the difference is that you do have a Linux operating system which supports the KVM, and top of that you will directly run the virtual machines now. So before, what we used to do is that on the bare metal we were directly installing the ESXi, and top of that we were running the virtual machine. So ESXi was acting like an application now, which has access to all the resources directly to the bare metal server, or we would have run on the bare metal server, we would have installed the Windows maybe or Mac OS, and top of that we were installing the workstation, and top of that we were installing the virtual machines. So this was a setup before. Now the setup is that for the KVM you can directly run the virtual machines on the Linux itself. So you do not require any ESXi machines or no operating system, no application like workstation or anything. We can directly run the virtual machines on the Linux itself. Again, how to run those machines will be, there will be a CLI commands, and if you're good with the CLI commands and good with the Linux, then only it will be understandable. But if you're not good with the Linux and command, it is not so much understandable. Now, the best example for those KVMs will be the GNS3 and the EVAN-G. Both of them will run on the top of Ubuntu operating system. So this is the operating system Ubuntu. On top of them, they will be running the GNS3 or EVAN-G application. So what happens in this one is that once the application is running, application will give you a web interface. So EVAN-G will give you the web interface, but the GNS3, we do have a GNS3 application. So on the GNS3 application, we run the VMs now. So when I say that running the virtual machine, that implies to the routers, firewalls, and the guest OS. All right. So GNS3 and EVAN-G are the best examples for the KVMs, where we just open the application, follow the instruction, and we will just install the what do we say, devices and whatever. Now the VMs images which we are going to use, the extension will be .qcow2. .qcow2. This is the extension for the KVM images, virtual machine images. All right, so we will talk about both of them, how we can install and configure, or what do we say, run the virtual machine on top of that one. For the GNS3, so let me talk first about the GNS3 now. So let's go to the GNS3 download. So click on the first one, and this is the Windows, what do we say, it's an application client. So in the GNS3, you do have two different things. One is the VM, another one is the application. So what the VM is going to do is that we are going to install the VM as a virtual machine in the workstation, and the application we are going to install it on our operating system. All right. So we run the application on the Windows, and using that graphical user interface, we are going to install the virtual machines over there. So the VM is now running on the workstation. So the VM will have the resources, for example, 4 CPUs and 16 GB of RAM. So virtual machine itself will have the resources, and according to those resources, we are running the VMs in that particular uh, application. So what I want to say basically is that instead of running your VMs directly on the Linux machine where you do require the CLI and the knowledge of the Linux, we do not require to these many things. We can only download directly the GNS3 or the even GVM. So in the GNS3, we do have two parts. One is the application, another one is the virtual machine. So we download the OVA file virtual machine and we are going to install it into the workstation, and we are going to install the application like a normal application. We are going to install it on the Windows, and we are going to run that application on the Windows, and using that application we have a graphical user interface. We are going to install the virtual machines. So currently I think I do have a GNS3 VM. Let me look into my downloads. No, I don't have the GNS3 VM. But still, let me look for that one. That is, yeah, I don't have that one. So what I will do is that I will go to the download the GNS VM, and I'm downloading for the workstation, or if you are a Mac, you should download it for the Fusion. So click on download now. That should download the VM. So for the testing purpose, what I will do is that I will go to my Windows server. I will download and install the workstation GNS3 application in this particular, what do we say, server. So let me open that one off. So let the browser opens. What happened to the browser? So let me see how much time it is taking. Only 2 minutes left. That's fantastic. Yeah, looks like there is a problem with my Firefox. Let me see if this opens the application. No. So let me reboot that Windows machine itself, server. So I will disconnect this one for now. So it is still downloading. Let it download. Right, so my GNS VM is being downloaded. So let me open the download folder now. And this is how the folder is. I will right click and I will go to WinRAR, extract the files, click on OK. It should now extract that OVA file. So until then, what I can do is that I can go to the my hard disk virtual machine. So here I will create one GNS3 one folder, and I will go back to downloads. Here you see that I have that OVA file. Right click on that one, open with workstation. So let me get the workstation first over here, and I will right click, click on open with workstation. So it is asking me for the name, so I will give a name, and I will browse it to the hard disk, the folder which I have created, and click on OK, click on import. So this will take time to import, but again it will depends upon your resources. So currently my resources are not so free, so it might take a little bit time, but it should be quick. So now again, once this has been imported, so it will be like a virtual machine as we discussed before. So virtual machine means again we are going to have the adapters, that is virtual NICs. So for this one, what I will do is that for GNS3, I will add three virtual NICs. So NIC 0, NIC 1, and NIC 2. So NIC 0 will be connected to my bridge network, which is my physical network, and that will be acting as a management for me. NIC 1 will be connected to the NAT network just in case if I want to go outside to the internet, I will use the NAT one. I can also use the bridge one also, but I will use the NAT one in order to communicate with the internet. And the NIC 2 will be the custom switch one adapter. So I am adding these three NICs for the three different subnets because I want to show you that how we can map those NICs inside the GNS3 VM. Alright, so that is my plan to add it. So once this has been implemented, then we will go ahead and configure our virtual machine. Alright, so it is almost finishing up now. So I will allocate the resources that will be the 4 GB of RAM to virtual CPUs and three NICs. So one of the NICs will be connected to the bridge one, another one will be connected to the NAT one, another one will be connected to the switch one. So this will be the configuration of the GNS3. So it's almost done now. So once that is completed, it should show up over here. So I already have a GNS3 installed, but I'm installing a new one so that I can show you how I can map it. Alright, so you can see that my virtual machine is being installed now. So first thing what I will do is that I will click on upgrade the virtual machine so that it matches the workstation 17 compatibility. Click on next and select the 17.5. Next, select the alter this existing virtual machine. Click on next and finish. That should be completed. Now once that is been done, so let's go ahead and edit that one. I set for virtual CPUs and sorry for 4 GB RAM and two virtual CPUs. By default, it has taken already the hard disk, so we don't worry about it. Network adapter, it is by default it is has two of them, so I will select one of them as the bridge, another one as the NAT, and another one as the switch one. That should be the custom switch one. Click on OK. So that is my config over here now. Alright, so let's start the virtual machine now.
Welcome back to this US Open Office Plan.
Miller just lobbed a message way.
Alright, so we can see that the GNS3 has been installed now, so that should be all good. So by default, you can see the IP address 192.168.1.47 has been allocated. So if I go to the 192.168.1.47, you see that you also have a web GUI. But pretty much you can't do much with the web GUI. So let me see if I am able to connect to the virtual machine and add it the images or not. So if I go to system status, this is the status, and how can I configure? So if I come back here, go to settings, console settings, now theme settings, update, nothing much. Yeah, pretty much that is what it is. So if I click on the servers, and you can see that by default the local server is being bundled. That is good, but I don't have pretty much any option to add the, what do we say, create a project or anything. Before it shows me up, but I don't know how to go back now. So if I click on, okay, over here you have an arrow box, so click on that one. So that is what it is. So if I go back to my servers again, so this is my server. On that particular server, I want to create the project. So I will click on create the project and I will say add blank project. So I will give a project name, maybe PR1. Click on add project. Oh, fantastic. So finally I got the web GUI. Now, as I said that I have not added any of the images on this one. So pretty much I am also new to this one. Usually because GNS3 is not totally onto the web GUI yet right now, still you have to access the web GUI via the application. So if I go back to the servers over here I do have a main server which is connected in the main topology over here. So there are no nodes. So if I right click, I don't see anything. So let me see what options do I have. Select mode, add a node, no. Manage snapshot, screenshot, no. I don't want to do that one. So click on add a node over here. And in this node, you can see that by default, these are the only things I can use. So if I click on insert or click on new template, install new appliance from the GNS3 server or employ. Okay, select the first one because it will automatically get the appliance, what do we say, GNS3 files. So in GNS3, how things works is that whenever we try to install any of the device, all right, so any of the device, what it will do is that it will first, the GNS3 VM will first get the appliance file, and that appliance file will be acting as a template which will have all the config, what should be the configuration for that particular uh, device which you are going to install. And after that, the next step, it will ask you for the device image. So this step we don't worry about anything much because that will be automatically downloaded by the GNS3. So I will select the install new appliance from the GNS3 server, click on next, and now it is asking me what appliance you want me to install. So currently you see that these are the different things, and items per pages, it is showing me 5. I will select 100 so that it will be quicker to check. So currently what I will do is that I will just try and install the Cisco routers. So I will click on install. This is the router I'm trying to install now. Install the appliance locally or install the, so I will select the install the appliance on the GNS3 VM. So always select the GNS3 VM because we want the images to be installed inside the VM, and whatever the resources the image is using, it will use it from the VM itself. And here it is, you see that it is installation required this file. So if I, so it is giving me an option to click on import, and it is giving me an option to click on create. So if I click on create, it is asking me what should be the name of that one. So I will say Cisco 3620. That's the same name. Click on add template. And now if I click on add node, and now I do have this one. So now I can get that one. So when I drag that one, you see that it is giving me cannot use a node on GNS VM server because it is been not configured. So if I right click on that one, and I don't know how to delete that now. So that's what the problem is, that currently web GUI, so I'm not good with that one. So if I click on add one, so I will select this one, click on next, and I will select the same router, but the only issue is that we need to have that Cisco image. So I will click on install and I will click on import, and this is where you are going to import that particular image. So let me try off with one of the Cisco ASAs. So if I go back to my software or GNS3 images, okay, so I do have a asav.qcow image. So let me look for the ASA. I do have the Cisco ASA. Click on install. And now it shows me all different versions over here. So what I will do is that I will create a new one. So I will select the appliance should be installed on the GNS3 VM. And I need to create a custom one. Okay, so again, it is not allowing me to create a custom one because my image is 9.8.1. Let me see if that is being accepted or not. So what I will do is that I will click on import and I will go to the GNS3 images, select this one, click on open. So that will upload it to the GNS3 VM now. And now you see that this file is not correct. That's what it is showing. So it is not allowing me to create an actual new template with the custom name and the custom file name. So that is the reason. So I don't see anywhere the option where I can create the custom one. So for currently what I will do is that I will just cancel this one and I will disconnect this one because I do not require that. Now coming to the virtual machine, so my virtual machine is running, so let me connect it to that one. That should be 192.168.1.200. Okay, so let me go to the GNS3 website. Okay, I need to download the what do we say applications. I will click on download and click on login. Just create the account that is what do we say, it's free account, so you don't have to subscribe or do anything for that one, so that's fine. So I will click on the login and after that if I click on download it should be downloaded. So now you see that it is asking me, so I will keep it. So it will be pretty much quick. So what I will do is that now once it is been downloaded I will copy it to my new virtual machine where I am going to run the, so this is the one, so I will click on copy, going back to my server, right click and I will paste off over here. So now it's copying the application to my virtual machine where I am going to run the GNS3 application. Alright, so what I will do, I will just do a double click on that one and it should start the installation. Alright, so I will click on next. Make sure that you have internet access before installing this one because it is going to download the work, what do we say, Wireshark and the mmap. So click on next and select the, don't change anything, click on next. So it's going to be installed on the C program, that's fine. So now the installation will take a little bit time because it is going to install the nmap, it is going to install the Microsoft Visual Distribution, and after that it is also going to, finally it is going to install the Wireshark. During the installation I think it is also going to install the Solar tool for console, which is the good console by the Solar Solar Putty. Alright, you see that it is now installing nmap. Click on I agree, click on install. Okay, so that's why you need to have the internet access because it is going to download and install that one. So if I click on next and finish, And after that, now it is downloading the Wireshark. So this one is a pretty good one, the KVM machine, the GNS3 and the EVNG, where we can actually run the Wireshark on a particular link. So that's a pretty good option if you are doing some kind of testing, trying to see where the traffic is going on, what port numbers it is trying to connect. So Wireshark is the best thing they have done by integrating in the GNS3 as well as in the EVNG. Right, so downloading is almost done. Okay, okay, make sure that you don't have any open ones. So I will just minimize this one so that we can have only GNS3. And now you see that GNS3 application is being almost installed. Okay, so trace ng is a new feature they have added recently. Now finally I will accept the license for the Solar Putty because I want the Solar Putty one as a console. So now it will ask you for that one. So I will say enter my email address and click on continue. That should be it. And now it should complete my, okay, so before it is asking for the trace NGE one, so now it is asking for your Solar Putty that will be used for the, what do we say, console for the devices, KVM devices. Okay, so it be good. Click on next. I don't want anything. Click on next, and I want to start the GNS3. Click on finish. So now this should start the GNS3 application. So now if I go back to the GNS3 now, so GNS3 IP address is 192.168.1.47. So what I have to do is that I have to make sure that my PC is reachable to that particular IP address. Okay, you see that it has downloaded. I will close that off. Come back here, command prompt. I will say ping 192.168.1.47 and I'm able to reach. So first thing is that you have to make sure that it is reachable. Next, it will show up with this wizard. So for now, I will cancel it. I will maximize it. And here you will see the lock. So I will just click close the console off. First thing before you do anything on the GNS3, so make sure that you click on edit, click on preferences. And on the general, nothing you have to change it. And again, for the theme where you want to go, now you see that symbol theme. So whatever devices which we are going to install in this particular GNS3, you want to use the classic themes templates or like a symbol themes, or you want to use any of those. So I will select Affinity Square Blue and click on apply. Next I will go to the server And you see that currently it is binding. That means my application is currently binded to the local host, that is 127.0.0.1. I want to change that one because my GNS3 is located on this particular subnet, so I will select that one. So I will ask my application to bind to this particular IP so that you are able to communicate with the GNS3 VM. So click on apply. So now it is saying that waiting for local server to stop that, since we did not add any. If you see that my only PC is added, there is no GNS3 VM has been added. Right, so if I go back to the VM now, so before that you see that cannot connect to the GNS3 server, that's fine. I will close this off, click on yes, close this off, and I will restart the application because okay. So over here it should show the PC, which is currently not showing yet, and now it is showing up. So I will click on cancel now. So now my PC is back again. So I will just push it over there. So I'll click on edit, go to the preferences again, and now this time I will go to the GNS3, enable the GNS3 VM, and I will see that I don't have the GNS3 VM because my PC is running as a virtual machine, but my GNS3 is running on my laptop. So that means these are two different systems. So that's why you're not able to see that GNS VM. If your virtual machine as well as the application was running on the same system or the server, you will see the GNS3 VM over there. So in so in this case, what you can do is that you can go back to server, click on remote server, click on add, and here you can provide the IP address 192.168.1.47. That is the IP address for my what do we say, GNS3. So here I will say cut and I will say GNS3 VM. I will give a name and I will give the IP address and I will say port number should be 80. So if you go back to your GNS3 VM, it is saying that it is open on port number 80. So you have to be careful with that one. Enable authentication, that's correct. If you see that the authentication over here, you see that SSH GNS3, the username is GNS3 and the password is also GNS3. So we will enable the authentication. We will say GNS3 and GNS3. Click on OK, click on apply, and this is where you see that my GNS3 VM is been up and running now. Now it's time to install, create a new project and install some of the, what do we say, devices. So before that one, what I will do is that I will go back to my GNS3 VMs and I will copy some of the routers and I will copy one of the ASA and I will copy the IOU. So these three things I will copy it to my downloading folder. So I will right click and I will click on paste, let it copy over here. And if I want to transfer the bigger files, so these are the smallest files. So any file more than not 500, I will say 200 or maybe 300 MB. Any files bigger than this size, I will recommend you to transfer your file using the FTP client. So usually I will be using the FileZilla client. So when we transfer the huge file, that's where I will show you how we can transfer the huge file and how we can create a custom files. So now my files have been copied over here. So I will go back to the GNS3 VM, click on file, click on new blank project. So this is currently untitled. So I will just keep it that way. Click on OK. And now click on over here. You see that you don't have any router. So I will click on plus. Click on next. Again, I am back. I will go back. You see that it is by default selected install the appliance. Whatever the device now I am going to install, it will be installed on the GNS3 VM, not on the physical system. So I will click on next. So here I will select the firewall and I will select the ASAV. Click on install. And now you see that install the appliance on a remote server. Now this option is enabled because I have added as a remote server. If your GNS3 was local, it will say install the appliance on the GNS3 VM. So since this is the remote server, that's why this option is enabled. So I will say yes and click on next, and now it is scanning the directories. As I said that I was not able to create a custom file, so you see that I can create a custom version. Basically this is 9.8 anyhow, but the hash file doesn't matches with the current one, so that's why I have to create a new one. Click on OK. Now the name, it is asking for the name, so you see that this is the name asav.qcow, so I will put on the exact name and I will say click on OK, and you see that it says that it is ready to install. That means it has found locally. It has found locally, that is 184 MB. So I will click on next and I will click on yes. And now it is uploading that file to that particular GNS3 VM. After that, click on finish and OK. Now if I go to the security devices, this is where I do have the Cisco ASA. If I right click on configure, and you can see that I can rename it to ASAV, and I can say that it is using 2 GB of RAM. I will say use it 1 GB of RAM, and it is using VNC. If your version is higher than 9.10, then you have to use VNC. If not, then go with the telnet. And the networks are 8, that should be good, and click on OK. So now right click on start and right click on console. Now this should start the putty console which we install while installing the application. So this is the putty session. It is very good because you can run multiple what do we say devices console in one. So now you can see that it is very small. So what I have to do is that I have to go to the settings. I will go to the general and I will click on launch putty and default settings. So before that, what I will do is that I will go to under Windows and Appearance, and I will change the font size to maybe 20. If you want, you can change the font size, font, what do we say, writing and everything. But currently I'm just changing the size. Click on OK. Now go back to session, click on default, click on save, then only it will be saved, and click on cancel. Now click on save. Whatever the settings we made in the putty, it will grab those settings and it will now, the font should now change it to 20. So if I go back, close it, open the console again, and now you see that the console is been 20. Font is different now. Next, let's install the IOU routers, which are very much famous. So click on new template, click on next. So click on routers and click on IOU L3, click on install. Again, it is running on the remote. If you have a local, you will select this option, click on next. No installation instruction available, click on next. And now you see that it has automatically detected that file which is found locally. So it has detected one of these files. So click on select that one, click on next, yes, and it should now start uploading that file to the my VM virtual machine. Click on finish and click on OK. Similarly, I will do one more template, that is the switches, and I will say IOU L2 switch. Click on install, click on next, next, and now you see that it is not detecting that L2, so which is this file. So what I will do is that I will right click on that one, rename it. I will copy all of it, go back to my GNS3, create a new version, that should be 15 version. Click on OK. I will paste that name over here, click on OK. And now it should also find that locally because that is inside my download folder. So click on next and yes, and finish, and finish. Now if I go back to the routers, I do have IOU L2 route, and if I right click and click on start, it says that it doesn't have a license, so we need a license for that one. So if I go to my Google, Let me see if I have those licenses or not. File, txt file. Nah, I don't think so. Nah, I don't have that license file. Alright, so in the Google, I will search for Cisco IOU license generator for GNS3 or even G, anything you can use, that's not a problem. So, which one I can go? Okay, let me see if I have anything on the downloads. Yeah, I remember having that one. Let me see that GNS3. Yep, GNS3 over here. All right, so this is what we have to. So like to get the license, this is what the command is. So I will copy that one and I will take a partition that should be to 192.168.1.47 and here I will say GNS3, GNS3. Okay, that's the same thing. Click on enter and go to shell and now we got a shell access. So we copy this command and go to partition, paste it over here and it should get that file. So it has downloaded that file. And after that, copy this one, command and press enter. This should generate the license file. So license file has been generated. So that's it for the GNS3 now. So before that, what I will do is that I will copy that one, go back to GNS3, go to edit and preferences, go to IOX and enter that license, click on apply and OK. And now I will do a right click. This time you see that it has now started. Okay, so pretty much if I go to the IOU L2, so if I do a right click and if I get a console, now keep in mind that before while installing the IOU routers and switches, first you install both of the images first, then you will generate the license. By mistake, if you have installed only router and generated the license, then install the IOU router and switch and you are trying to use that same license, it will not start. So that's the reason. First install both of them. After that, generate the license, then only both of them will work. All right, so you see that my fonts looks like to be too much. So I will go to back to the settings and I will go to general, go to the launch putty and I will go to the appearance and I will change it to 16. Go back to session, click on settings and cancel, click on save. And now 16 should be good for, yep, 16 looks good. And now you can see that my appliance was 9.8, but still it was not detecting. That's fine because this is the customly created one. All right, so my ASA is up and running, my routers are up and running. That's all good. That's how you install the files and everything. Now let's think about the files which are very much huge. For example, if I go back to the new template, click on next. If I go to the firewall now, Cisco FTD FMC images are very heavy now. So if I go to my folder where I do have the GNS3 images, and if I go to the firepower threat defense, if I go to the property now, the file is of 1 GB. So do not upload it directly to via using the appliance, that is application. So always use the FileZilla or the file transport, what do we say, FTP client. So first I will connect to my GNS3 1.47. Username will be GNS3. password will be GNS3, all lowercase letter, port number 2020, sorry, 22. So double click on this one. So I will close this one, double click one more time, go to the OTP, go to GNS3, go to the images. So these are the KMO images. So if you right click on, double click on that one, so we do have a KMO images. On the left hand side, I have to go to that particular GNS3 image folder, and this is where my file is. So I will just do a double click. So what I am doing is that before I was using the application to upload the file, since these files are very much larger files, so what I am doing is that first I am uploading these files to my virtual machine. Then I will use the, what do we say, application, GNS3 application to install those files. So I will do a right click and I will say rename. I will copy the name. Okay, the file is been transferred like within 2 minutes. So if you transfer it via the, what do we say, application, it will take forever. So I will click on install, or I will just click on cancel, go to the new template, click on next, go to the firewall, go to the FTD, click on install. So it is installing on remote server, click on next, next, and now it will scan. If it doesn't find, so this one is the version 7, so you see that version 7 is not there. So I will say 7.0. So was it version 7? No, that was 6.5. So it's still there, there is no 6.5. So 6.5, click on OK. I will paste that hard disk, click on OK, and now you see that found on GNS3 VM. You see that it doesn't say found locally, it says found on GNS3 VM. Click on next and click on yes, and click on install, click on OK. So that is the best thing. So if I do a grab that one, configure, you see that it is in telnet, it should be in VNC in order to run, and it should have the 8 GB of RAM and at least 3 CPUs. So this should be the configuration in order to run that FTD. Alright, so that's how you will install the larger files into your GNS3. Now coming to the, what do we say, guest operating systems. So click on new template, click on next. If I go to the guest, so these are freely available for you. You can download and install, and some of them are Docker image which will automatically downloaded by the GNS3. Now, example for that one should be the webterm, which I usually use it mostly in order to access the HTTPS or HTTP web GUI. So click on install, click on next, and click on finish. And now okay, so it has added it. So once I grab it, and now it is downloading that actual folder, Docker image. So it is now downloading that image, and after that it will install the web GUI. Now let's talk about the adapters which we said. So now you can see that there is a cloud, there is a NAT cloud. So now if you remember that, if we, what do we say, we have three adapters. NIC 0 is the bridge one, and the NIC 1 is the NAT one, and the NIC 2 is the switch one. Now bridge one is the management. So whenever we are talking about the NAT cloud, so it will be connecting to this particular NAT cloud. So whenever you grab this one, so if you want to communicate with the internet, this is what you will use. And the subnet for that one is 192.168.122.0/24, and the default gateway will be .1. Now why we use this cloud now? So this is the management, this is the custom adapter, that is switch one. In order to connect to these adapters, we will add the NICs, we will map the NICs to the particular adapter so that we can communicate with the devices which are outside the GNS3. So if I go back to my physical system, that is my laptop, so if I say CMD and if I say IP config, and now so VMnet 8, that is the NAT adapter, VMnet3 and VMnet2. So VMnet2 is the switch one, and you can see 192.168.142.1. So now what I will do is that I will grab one router and I will just say that to rename this one as R1. I will just remove the serial interfaces, click on apply, OK, and start that one off. Now I will go to the guest and I will grab this cloud. It is asking me the cloud should be connected to your physical system or GNS3 VM. Always select the VM. Click on OK. And now I want to connect it to the switch 1. So if you remember that the switch 1 is the NIC 2. So I will connect it to this one is NIC 0, NIC 1 and NIC 2. So I will connect it to the NIC 2 and now I will take console. So the IP address I will give it on the same subnet, that is 192.168.142.10 maybe. We'll say interface E0/0 IP address 192.168.142.10 exit. That's it. Now if I come back to my physical system now, if I try to ping 192.168.142.10, you see that I am able to reach. So this is my physical system which is outside the virtual machine. But since the adapter is been mapped to the same network, that's why we are able to communicate. Now there is one more thing you can do, that is if I say that interface is 0/0 IP address should be 10.1.1.1, no shut exit do show IP interface brief. I have changed the IP address. Now if I go back here and if I say that ping 10.1.1.1, it will not ping. It is connected to the same adapter, but it is not in the same subnet. Now my requirement is that I will grab one more cloud, connect to the GNS3 VM, and I will grab one more router, R2, click on OK, and I will connect this one to the same adapter. They are connected to the same adapter, switch 1, okay? But clouds are different, that doesn't matter. How the NICs are mapped, how we are going to communicate, that it matters. So you need to understand the networking behind it. So now over here I will say configure interface E0/0, IP address will be 10.1.1.2 and no shut exit. So now once the interface is up, what I will do, I will try to ping 10.1.1.1 and you see that it is pinging. So the concept here, what I want to say is that you are using different NICs. So the cloud is used to connect to your physical networks, physical system, or your custom networks according to your requirements. So you will select that one. You will map those adapters and you will connect to those adapters. No matter how many clouds you grab it and connect to the same adapter, that means at the back end, these two both clouds are connected to the switch one. So basically, even though these two clouds are two different, looks like a two different clouds, but at the back end, they are connected to one adapter. That means they are acting like a switch now, simply. So that's what it is. Now, what I will do is that I will now grab the NAT one. So I will go back to the guest and I will grab the NAT adapter now. Same, connect to the, always connect to the virtual machine. So now I will connect another adapter to the NAT. You see that there is only one interface. So I will go back to the R1 now and I will say that interface E0/1 IP address should be DHCP and no shut exit. So let it get the IP address from that particular NAT cloud now. So do show IP interface brief and I should get an IP address from the NAT cloud. And you see that I got the IP address 134. And now if I say do show IP route, so it is now default gateway is 122.1. So if I say that do ping 192.168.122.1, it is pinging. So if I say do ping 8.8.8, so now it is also pinging. So NAT is used to reach out to the internet. So basically what you are doing is that if you remember, if you have a network, so if there is any devices which is trying to communicate with the internet, you do have a firewall in between and you're going to configure the NAT on that one. The same thing this NAT does it for you. Whatever the internal network is there, it is able to NAT it to the outside world simply. So if you want to reach out to the internet, this is what you will use it maximum time. All right, so now this is the management one. If you want to connect it to your management network, then you can just go and connect the cloud to the ETH1. So I will do that one too, that one final thing. So what I will do is that I will grab one more cloud, go to the VM, and I will add one more interface, ETH0. And now my subnet is 192.168.1.0, so I will say interface E0/2. IP address will be 192.168.1. Maybe 20.255 and no shut exit. So now I don't have any default gateway, but if I say do ping 192.168.1.1, it should be able to ping because it is connected to my management network and it is also in the same subnet simply. So that's why now I am able to ping. So that is what I want to show you, that you can map your adapters, different clouds and everything in your networking. And now you see that my web term is also arrived. So I will right click on that one and I will click on console. So I will right click and now you can see that this is my console. Now this console is the VNC console. The console which we are talking about, this one is the CLI console. So VNC means like anything PC or anything which uses. So that's where we use the VNC. Where you want a graphical user interface, that's where you use the VNC player. But for the CLIs, you will use the Solar Putty, the default one. Now again, you can change this one to, if you install the secure CRT and if you want to change that console type to secure CRT, yes. If you go to the edit preferences in the general, you will see console application. Click on edit and you can drop down and select the secure CRT. So you do also have a MOBA XTerm. So if you're not convenient with the Solar Putty, you can go ahead with the secure CRT and the MOBA XTerm. Differentials consoles are available for you. You can just download and install it, and after that you can just connect it. Alright, so that was the GNS3 VM, how you will install the. Now, as I said that the GNS3 VM is the KVM, so these routers where it is been installed, it is being installed on the GNS3 VM. Now this GNS3 application is being installed on the Ubuntu. So this is the Linux operating system. On top of that, we are running the GNS3 application, and using that application, we got the graphical user interface, and using that, we have now installed the R1, R2, the routers, and now we also install the webterm. Through multiple virtual machines you're running and you're getting a console for it. So it's pretty easy how we are interacting with the virtual machines and the application, and we are able to understand, okay, this is what I have to do and I'm getting the console, this is the CLI and all those things. But if you try to plan to run directly onto the Ubuntu by yourself, and that's where you will need to have a pretty much deep idea about it, how the CLI works, what is the folder path and everything, how to get the console for that one and everything. So it's a pretty much deep research in order to get those things. So my recommendation is that go with the GNS3 or the EvenG for running these kind of things, and you can do the testing. Now another thing I said you that we can the Wireshark one. So if I do a right click, so you see that it should when I hover that one right click, it should give the option, and the link has turned to red. So you see that start packet capture. So I'll click on cancel. I will capture on the NAT one because that is connected to the internet. Now you see that it looking for the packets now. Whatever the packets we are seeing on that particular link, everything will be seen. So if I, for example, if I try to initiate the ping 8.8.8, and now over here you see that my ping has went in and it came back, the reply also came back. So this is also a great tool they have integrated inside your GNS3 VM itself. So you can do your testing, you can capture the packets, and you can also save the file also. If I click on close, and it is asking you, you want to close without saving? Yes. If you want to save it, you can save the packets. And now still it is there. So if I just right click and you can stop the packet capture. So now if you right click start the capture, okay, the packet has been started, capture has been started. By my mistake, you just go ahead and click the close. And again, if you right click, you can just start the Wireshark, and it will again start up the Wireshark, the same thing. So there is one more option that is analyze capture, but I did not have that one. I think it's a new option. So it is asking me to run the analyze. System cannot find the file specific, but that's okay. So if you right click, stop the capture, that's what it is. So that's it for the GNS VM. We'll be mostly interested in how you can install the what do we say, the images and everything in the GNS3M, and how you can connect to the cloud. That is the main thing, because you need to know how you are mapping your adapters to the cloud in order to run your topologies, configure your topologies, and communicate with your topologies. I hope this was informative for you, and thank you.